Oh hi, welcome back to another episode of Blackdot Miniatures and Paints. Kevin coming back to y'all, now with 100 subscribers. Thanks to y'all coming in clutch, that's awesome, I'm so appreciative. We are 1/10 the way to the goal of being monetized. Probably never happened, but hey, we're going to have fun along the way. I'm going to show y'all some stuff along the way, it's going to be awesome. So this week we're painting a Howling Banshee for my Eldar army. I've been looking at these dudes, wanting to paint these dudes for freaking ever, never got around to them. They're just something that has always intimidated me. Space Marines are super simple, but these ones a little bit different. So we're going to check it out together this week and get after it. So for those of you who actually pay attention to my videos, there are 3 different models that I'm showing you in these first couple steps. We started with the white primer Vallejo coat, no big deal there. Hit this with an Agrax Earthshade. So what happened was whenever I was doing the original model that I was going to showcase in this video, man, I straight didn't like the results. I used a weathering technique that is supposed to give it nice hard recesses, but to keep the surfaces light, save a little bit of time, I just really watered those down. The recesses weren't very hard at all. So we hit this with this Agrax, come through with Ushabti Bone. All we're doing here is hitting every single surface. We want this model to be Ushabti Bone. Now, another alternative to doing all this work that I thought of while editing the video was you could use Skeleton Horde from GW Contrast. That would work out great. But we've got what we got, we are where we are. So here's model 2, just showing how I did this. This one was already dry on my desk. We just went back, used it instead of waiting on the Agrax Earthshade to dry again. So here's our main model for this actual showcase. We're coming through and we're cutting in all the green bits on them. So we start out with Caliban Green. Some of y'all know I'm not a huge fan of using washes. I'll use them, but if I can get the actual shade and the shadow to be from a color, awesome. I would much rather do that. So this way we have somewhere to start with the recesses. We work up from there. We start with this Caliban Green. There's no shades on this cape throughout the entire thing. It's just... Alright, for the hair and for the eyes, we're coming through with Khorne Red. The eyes, you're just going to hit the entire recess of that. The hair, same concept. We're just plugging paint in here. The one disclaimer I will give you is I should have done this first. I should have done this before the green because I was having to really fight around that. So maybe do the red before you do the green for the crown. Other than that, no big deal. Just make sure you get the color in there. There are some deep spots where it's a pain. Now when looking at the box art, I saw that there is some black variety in this hair. We don't want to hit the whole thing with normal, that's just going to darken the whole thing down, it's going to look a little weird. So we're just taking this black Templar contrast paint, we're pushing it into some of the recesses to just add a little bit of variety. We're kind of doing every other just to space it out, kind of give it a little bit of interest. So just be careful here. If you do work quickly, if you mess up, just hit it with a wet brush, pull that contrast paint back out, and you can keep chugging along, no big deal. To highlight up all of our green bits, we're mixing 1:1 Warpstone Glow and Caliban Green. You probably could have gone 2:1 on this. It was a little bit dark. All we're doing here is hitting the top edges. We're hitting things where light is going to fall, make it look like it gets a little bit brighter as it should. We're staying away from the recesses. We're staying away from the undersides of things. We're also doing the top 50-60% of the crown, just trying to add a highlight as it goes progressively higher up on the head. So nothing crazy here. Again, we are just working very careful. We don't want to mess up anything we already laid down. So mixing this up 2:1, this is where we really started to see a little bit of difference in the color it was making. We saw a subtle transition with the 1:1, but man, once we started hitting that 2:1, big change, big difference, started looking a lot better. We're also working a little bit higher up than we had previously on this crown part here, maybe 40%, 35% if you want to get down to the wire on it. Nothing crazy, easy, easy. Alright, coming back to the hair, we hit it with the Mepheston Red dry brush. Biggest thing here is support this model. It is standing on a Space Marines helmet. That is it, the end. You get after this thing a little bit too vigorously, you're going to snap it off. So be careful, light brush pressure, don't just start raking on this thing or you're going to wear it out. Then we move on to Evil Sunz Scarlet. We're just trying to hit the highlights on the hair here. Nothing crazy whatsoever. If you think it needs a highlight, if you think it needs a little bit of variety, something different to it that maybe the Mepheston or the red didn't add, awesome. Jam a freaking highlight on there, Evil Sunz Scarlet. No big deal. The biggest thing here is just work effectively. You know, you can sit here and do every single strand of hair, sure, if you want to, but I've got 6 of these things to paint. This is just the one I'm showing y'all for the video, but I've got 6 of them. So I don't have time to do every single strand of every single hair on this thing's head. Scratch that noise, work effectively. So to finish off the hair, we come through with a dry brush of Khorne Red. Here in a minute, you'll see I figured it out. I found it. We switched to a smaller dry brush. Dude, I should have been doing that from the get-go. Use the appropriate size tool. This dry brush coat is just to mellow everything out, make everything mesh together. We move on to pure Warpstone glow. I really didn't think it was this big of a jump, but man, it was a dang jump. I was thinking 2 to 1, I'd be doing all right. No, it's a little bit of a jump. Work careful here. I'm working thin, as you can see. It's flowing off the brush super nice. That's what saved me. If I was going raw dog straight out of the pot, man, I would have had some egregious paint lines. So work thin. To do the gold on it, we're coming through with Retributer Armor. It's just the handle on the weapon, and there's some gold bits all around the model, all over this weapon. Look at the box art. I had to stare at this box art forever to try and figure out what I needed to hit. Unfortunately, like I said, this model is not a great sculpt. It just kind of starts to blend together, so work around it, pick it out, but man, that box art on these things are a lifesaver. So this week I got to shout out my man Guilty Spark. He is one of my very good friends. He made me this soundtrack, and then a lot of my other videos has the same soundtrack by him. He does great work. He's available on Spotify. He's available on Facebook. You can check him out in my description down below. Give his music a listen to. If you like EDM, you like trance music, he's the one to go to. He's got good stuff. Check him out. So thank you, Jamie. Appreciate it. For the weapon, we come through with Leadbelcher. We just cut this sucker in here. Only freaking suggestion I give you is be smart. It has gold accents that are very fiddly and small. Maybe do those after you lay down the silver. And I'm just throwing that out there as a suggestion. So now we're moving on to edge highlighting. Nothing crazy here. It's not too bad. This model certainly requires it. If you do not edge highlight this model, man, you're going to get lost in all of this tan armor. So take the time. If you don't want to do true edge highlighting, do like I did here. I worked really thin, and all we did is lay down highlights for where the surface is going to transition to that lighter color. So nothing crazy here, typical workup, but this step really on this model, super required. Maybe it'd be a little bit different if we did contrast paint Skeleton Horde instead of painting it up this way. I'll have to try that out, give it a rip, see how it goes. So do it though, it's worth it. So now we're moving on to pure Warpstone Glow solo. We're hitting about 30% of this crown. We're hitting all 3 points of it. We're doing some of the work on the weapon. We're also doing some of the work on the cape here. We're just trying to work a smaller highlight area than what we had previously done. The one thing I will recommend here, so you don't get a stark start highlight line, is just work thin, work a little bit watery, and that's going to save you. Then we move on to pure Moot Green here. We're just hitting the edges of all 3 of these points on the crown, and then we put in some work on the cape on the back there. Be careful with this color. A little bit of it goes extremely far. It's a very big jump between Warpstone Glow to Moot Green, so real careful here. You'll really want to be selective, otherwise you're just going to tear this thing up. You'll see here in a second, I do a little bit of work, and then we go, oh crap, this looks bad, wipe it off. That alone may be able to save it sometimes. Just try it. If not, you can hit it with the water and try and scrub it off with a wet paint brush. Now, I don't have any of the blue glaze, spirit stone, whatever it's called, so I'm just hitting this with a Mccragge Blue. We're doing a nice all-over coat for all these gems. You could do the Runefang Steel with the blue stone technical paint, but nah. So after we lay a nice blue, Mccragge Blue on there, we're coming through with Fenresian Grey. We're just trying to hit the higher part and put a nice little dot of that blue paint on there to make it transition, cause a nice little color change in there. So be careful, you don't want to jack anything up. And the final color we come through with is Runefang Steel. We dry brush the hilt of the weapon, and then we also lay a nice coat of that down on the blade where it's sharpest. Alright guys, so here's our finished product. I think it turned out great. I mean, obviously there were a couple issues along the way that we got corrected, got it figured out, so never be afraid to figure it out along the way. It's just paint. You can paint over it, you can strip it off, it doesn't matter. So thank y'all for checking it out. Really appreciate it. Love the way the green, the bone, the red, all of it just plays off each other. It looks awesome. So as always guys, this is Kevin with Blackdot Miniatures and Paints. Glad I can bring y'all this stuff. Glad I can keep having people coming back checking this stuff out. So if you found anything useful here, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Share this video. If you got someone you know doing an Eldar army, they're trying to paint their own squad of Howling Banshees, maybe they can find something useful out of this and they can put it to practice in their own work. So as always, appreciate y'all popping by. We'll see y'all next time. Bye for now.